Good morning, everyone. As I said yesterday in the late afternoon, it's never too early and never too late for Torah. So here goes a thought before we start our day. As I mentioned to you earlier, this is quite an emotional Torah portion. It's a hard Torah portion. Here we have the greatest leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, the one who led the Jewish people out of Egypt, got them the Torah and nurtured them through the desert, and God tells him, your time has come. You finished the wars of Sichon and Og, the last two wars before your time to gather to your people, so to speak, to pass away. And God tells him to go on to Mount Evarim and to see the Holy Land, because you will not go there. And immediately after, at this crucial moment, when Moses imagined the feeling of knowing that the thing that you lived for, going to Israel, will not happen for you, Moshe Rabbeinu will stay in the desert. Moses turns to God with the plea of all pleas. He says, Yivkei delikim melekei koruchais. May God, the God of all spirits, may He choose a leader for the Jewish people who will bring them and go in front of them and go after them and will look after them. Moshe is worried about his flock. And he says, what's going to be when I leave? The Jewish people are people that need a leader who's nurturing, who's caring, who's sensitive. And God tells him about Joshua, that Joshua will be the one to lead. And God tells him to put his hand on Joshua's head and to give from his spirit to Joshua. And the rabbis say, if you look at the verse, it says, Vayismach es yadav. He didn't put one hand, he put both hands. Moshe, instead of being worried, is the next leader maybe going to be greater than me? Will he accomplish more? Will he be more famous? Moshe Rabbeinu said, God asked me to put one hand, I'll put two. I want to give him more. I want him to be greater. Because by Moshe, it wasn't about him. It was about the people he was serving. And when it's about the people you're serving, then it's irrelevant if someone is greater than you and someone will accomplish more. You know, I was watching a podcast from Jonathan Sachs, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Alav Shalom, and he was talking about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And they asked him, what's the difference between a Rebbe and a rabbi? And he says, a rabbi the Rebbe speaks to thousands and tens of thousands of people, and every single one of them thinks that he's speaking to him. And a rabbi could speak to 100 or 200 people, and everyone thinks he's speaking to somebody else. What's a Rebbe? What's a leader? What's a Nasi Yisrael, a Reish B'nai Yisrael? It's someone who every single person knows and understands that he's thinking and he cares and he loves them and he looks after them. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was worried about. And that's why the rabbis ask, why does he say Yifkei Delikim Elekei Aruchos? What does it mean, the God of spirits? What kind of language is that? And the rabbis explain, because Moshe Rabbeinu in all of his years understood, as the famous quote we say, just as their faces are not the same, so too their opinions are not the same. That people are different. And they need a leader who will understand that the spirits are not the same, that there's no two people that are alike, and will be able to appreciate differences of opinion and differences of character and differences of personality. You know, Menachem Mendel of Kotsk says, why do we say just like their faces are not the same, so too their personalities or their opinions are not the same? Why specifically the faces? And he answers something very beautiful. He says, when it comes to faces, there's no two people that look alike, but no one is upset that someone looks different than them. Oh, why do you have black hair? Why do you have blonde hair? Why do you have blue eyes or brown eyes? Why is your nose bigger or smaller? Why do you have such a color beard or something? No, we understand that everyone looks different. But when it comes to opinions, suddenly somebody has a different opinion, we start screaming, Chai v'Kai, what's going on here? Who is this person? How could he think differently than me? And that's why we say, just as their faces are not alike, just as you tolerate people who look differently than you have to tolerate people who think differently than you. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was worried about. He was worried about a leader that would give unconditionally and that would nurture everyone with love, with patience, with understanding that they're not the same. And when God tells him to pick Joshua, Moshe Rabbeinu bestows his spirit in a double portion. By Yismoich es Yadav, he gives both hands. I think about all the years that I got to spend around the Lubavitcher Rebbe and how he never stopped giving. And his giving was unconditional. And his flow was constant. The Rebbe would stand for hours and he would give out dollars. And the Rebbe never went for bathroom breaks, or the Rebbe never went for coffee breaks. And we all know the famous story when the lady asked the Rebbe, how could you do this for so long? Don't you get tired? And the Rebbe told her, when you count diamonds, you don't get tired. The Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu, the true leaders, they see every single human being as a diamond, as a gem. And they realize that we are here to serve them and not vice versa. That's the prayer I say today. We look at a world with bankrupt leaders. Leaders who are worried about their popularity and about their power, but not about who they're nurturing. As we always say, power divides. Influence multiplies. When you're only controlling power, you get worried. If someone else has power, they'll take away a little bit of yours. But if you're influencing, then you know that influence multiplies. When you have a company and you give away 20%, you have 20% less power. But when you light one candle to another, the candles just keep burning. May Hashem give us to have leaders and to be leaders that learn from Moses, the greatest leader of all time. Yifked Elokim Elokei Ruchos, to nurture, to care, to focus on who we're giving and what we're giving. And may we merit to bring up new leaders that will continue in that way. Have a great